The Mega Man series on Game Boy would continue in 1992 with Mega Man 3. The game's development was handed back to the same developers of the first Game Boy Mega Man, Dr. Wily's Revenge. Apparently there was a falling out of some kind between Capcom and Japan System House, so the keys were handed back to Minakuchi Engineering. There isn't a major difference in the gameplay between Mega Man 3 and either of its predecessors, really, even with the passing of the puck back and forth between developers. The game plays and feels like pretty much any Mega Man prior to this, and the level design, much like in Mega Man 2, is often based off the same concepts as their NES counterpart. But the one thing that was definitely noticeable was the soundtrack. Mega Man 2 decided to go with a completely original soundtrack as opposed to recycling Game Boy renditions of the NES songs. Now that wouldn't normally be a problem, as that could just expand the catalog of Mega Man soundtrack history. But Mega Man 2 soundtrack sucked ass. Mega Man 3 thankfully returns to the format of Wily's Revenge by including stripped down versions of the NES counterparts, plus a couple of originals for the Wily stages. But thankfully, these originals actually sound like they belong in Mega Man. The final stage in particular is very good. Otherwise, the game is what you come to expect, a tried and true, straightforward run and gun. Much like in Mega Man 2, you get 4 Robot Masters from the NES's Mega Man 3, followed by another 4 from the NES's Mega Man 4. Although this time you can actually see whose stage you're accessing in the normal select screen and not these stupid fucking portals from the Robot Master rematches. Another thing that's different is that you can charge up your Mega Buster. Rush makes a return, although you don't get the Marine anymore, just the Coil and the Jet. And the Jet sucks compared to the NES, because you can't steer Rush at all. In the NES, you can at least control his vertical level. And in Mega Man 3, you have even more freedom with your movements. It's not even an auto-scroll. In this version, wherever you line up Rush, you have to live with it, essentially making him item 2 from the NES Mega Man 2, although you can at least shoot while riding in this go-around. Flip Top Eddie also makes his Game Boy debut, giving you a random item. And there's a new baddie. Although Dr. Wily is still the main antagonist, this new robot Punk essentially acts as Wily's right-hand man. Kinda similar to Quint in the last game, only Punk doesn't really suck. As far as the game's plot goes, Wily has his Skull Castle set up in the middle of the ocean and has it rigged up as an oil platform to draw energy from the Earth's core to power up a machine that I guess is supposed to assist him in taking over the world or whatever. It is what it is, but it at least doesn't involve time travel like the Game Boy's Mega Man 2. They don't insult your intelligence with another diversionary antagonist, and the emphasis on the story of the classic Mega Man series is fairly minimal anyway. The game has always just been about killing robots, stealing abilities, and using them on Dr. Wily. And at the end of the day, this entry in the Mega Man series checks all the boxes. Nothing innovative, but another solid installment in the series. Now, you can start with whichever Robot Master you feel is easiest to beat with the Mega Buster, and then follow the next one in line in the same rotation that follows the weakness loop. Personally, I like to start off with Snake Man. It'll start off with these mini snake heads that spit a projectile at a time. Blast them. And then you'll get a Hammer Joe. When his face darkens, that means his helmet is down and he can take damage, so blast him then. But time it so you don't take the hammers he unleashes shortly after. Then you'll get the big-ass snake that spits several projectiles. Unfortunately, you can't dangle from the top of the ladder and wipe him out from up here, so you'll have to jump and attack as much as possible when avoiding the orbs. Before you jump over this pit, hang back and wipe out this guy so he doesn't get in the way of your jump. Then you'll meet these pogo stick pricks. Bait them into jumping over you by walking towards them, and then back up quickly and then go forward again. This is so you can evade the pogo stick as well as the prick. Up here, you'll see an E-tank on the narrow platform. First drop down as the clamp is low and open, climb to the top, and leap across at the very edge of the platform. You can just about make it. At the home stretch, there'll be all these narrow platforms over a long pit. Tread lightly, see what's in front of you, and shoot down these little guys that pop up, and Snake Man is just ahead. He'll run back and forth across the room, albeit rather slowly, and he'll stop once in a while to fire his crawly search snakes before going back to running. Charge up your Mega Buster, keep your distance, and fire away. You can also take out the search snakes in the process. It's hard to completely avoid damage in the narrow space, but if you can manage to do so even a couple of times while maintaining distance, you should be able to take them out and acquire the search snake. You'll fire little snakes that drop immediately, but they crawl all the way across the floor. You'll also get the rush coil to make high inaccessible areas accessible. Next up, Gemini Man. You'll start off with these dragonflies that level off with you and then dash towards you. Bait them to stop up high, or jump over them if you can't simply wipe them out. They're all over the fucking place in this stage. When you're here with the spikes, don't play games. Just make sure you don't get overzealous or distracted with your jumping. Taking out these eggs will summon these floating tadpole sperm guys. But unlike in the NES version where the Mega Buster isn't available, this time you can blast through a whole row with a charged shot. Take the rush coil up here and blast through some more for an E-Tank. Then you'll get this duck mini boss that spit out mini ducks from the bottom. You'll have to shoot the handle that spins atop his head, but all the while avoiding the mini ducks, which can be a good source of power-ups if you stay low to take them out. At the home stretch, you have to jump across these narrow platforms over spikes while the dragonflies swoop down. Avoid them, be careful on the jumps, and Gemini Man is just ahead. He'll split into a doppelganger, and they'll both start a cycle of jumping across the room while the other runs across the floor in the opposite direction, and stopping to fire plasma projectiles whenever you fire. Spam attack with the search snake, and you'll quickly wipe out the doppelganger after draining half his health. He'll fire exclusively with the Gemini laser at this point, and make little jumps here and there while running across the room. Keep plugging his ass with snakes, and you'll take him out and get the Gemini laser. Unfortunately, you can only fire one laser at a time, but it deals out some pretty good damage, and it propels off the walls and ceilings, which can actually be a detriment if you're waiting for the next shot. Shadow Man is next on the list. Hop on these explosives. When they count from 3 to 0, they'll explode. Wait for this hard hat and the jackhammer to retreat. He won't bypass this platform, and fire at his head. Next, you've got the Hallway of Darkness. Well, at least while this device floats about. Get on a high platform and shoot it down, because you've got these running hand grenades that detonate upon contact with you or your bullets. So back up and take them down to avoid shrapnel. Then across this long pit of lava is a bunch of these parachuting guys. Jump and back away quickly to bait them into coming down so you can take them out from a distance, because dealing with them head on will not only hurt you in all likelihood, but may also knock you into a pit. At the very end, you'll run into a hard hat jackhammer jackass who still can't drop a half foot. He'll turn around at the edge, so let him do it and blast away before entering the gate. Shadow Man hops around a couple times, slides sometimes, and fires off 2 shadow blades, one straight ahead and one on a diagonal. Fire the Gemini laser when you're right in front of him so you don't miss and you have to wait for the laser to go away. Jump over his slides, slide under his jumps, and pump him full of laser until he's dead, and you'll get the shadow blade. This weapon fires in 5 directions, straight ahead to either side, diagonal to either side, and straight up. The only weakness is its range. It doesn't go all the way across the screen, instead it comes back like a boomerang. Obviously, you're going with Sparkman now. Wait for these electric charges to dissipate and leap through when they're on their way towards you. Blast this block as you're running so you can quickly pass through before the next one lands on you. This jackhammer moron will turn away when coming face to face with this platform. Fire at it when it does so. Then use the coil to get this E-Tank. Right after that is a long pit with these little platforms that raise when you land on them. Thankfully, unlike the NES version, they move much slower. Jump early so you don't hit the spikes up top, or slip off when you're up high and the next one is close. Then you'll fall down this long ass drop with some stops along the way with more of these timed explosives. Land on one and wait it out before moving to another one, and then passing through after the explosion, or you can just slip into the gap. Watch the spikes on the ceiling during the home stretch. Just pay no mind to this chute right here. It's not going to drop any blocks. And Sparkman is just ahead. He'll hop a few times and stop before attacking with either 8 of his spark shocks in all directions, or 1 large one in your general direction. Bust out the Shadow Blade and unleash upon him. You'll have to be relatively close, but it deals a lot of damage to him, and the flexibility of the Shadow Blade makes it easier to aim in his direction when he's up high. After taking him out, you'll get the Spark Shock, which sends out a projectile in the same trajectory as your regular arm cannon, and it's not much larger, but has a tendency to freeze enemies. So now you're at Dr. Wily's castle, but unlike most fortress stages, this is really just an intermission stage between the next set of Robot Masters. Just some easy to follow appearing blocks, and this dropping platform that lets go quicker than the NES version does, so get your ass off this thing immediately. The boss is right after, and hey, it's a large version of one of those suction cup block enemies from Mega Man 1 called Giant Susie. It'll slide across the perimeter of this narrow room, scaling up and down and across and back. Leap over it when it passes by on the floor, and stay low to the ground when it's on the ceiling, because it does these little jumps that'll catch you off guard while you're jumping to attack. Once you drain half of its life, it'll start going apeshit and do some jumps off the floor too. Spark Shock is the ideal weapon, although charged up Mega Buster works well too. Once you finish it off, you'll get an energy capsule, which means fuck all because you're done with the stage, and now it's on to the next 4 Robot Masters. And these guys have their own weakness loop, so none of the full weapons you have work well really against these guys. So you'll have to once again pick the boss that's easiest to beat with the Mega Buster. My suggestion is Dust Man. Right away, you've got these pricks that pop out of the ground and drift back down. Don't let them interrupt your jump, you'll fall to your death. Even after killing one, there'll be another coming soon after, so make sure you kill it when it's on its way up before advancing. This big guy deals a lot of damage, so protect yourself behind this platform and take him down. Then you'll get this segment where a trash compactor will raise and lower, with all these trash blocks you'll need to clear out. But of course, you're in danger of getting squashed, so keep yourself in a safe spot, clear out as much as you can see, and then creep in to take out some more and retreat if the compactor gets too low. Charge up your shot to clear out a shitload at a time, and keep in mind that there's a ladder downward at the end, so you don't get crushed. After taking out this guy that launches and spits balls, get Rush onto the edge of the platform, and launch yourself up here for an extra life. Just watch out for the dickhead when he respawns on the other side. He'll keep launching stuff at you. When you get to this pit, set up Rush at about the middle so you can reach the other side, and then leap away for a sec to get Rush just below the ladder so you can launch your way to the ladder. Slide under here for an energy capsule if you need it, just watch out for the spike, and then launch up here with the coil. And then use the coil here just to be safe on this jump, and Dustman is just ahead. He'll suck you. He'll try to pull you into him. Never mind, he's just a fucking robotic vacuum. Charge up your shot and run away while this is happening. He's immune to damage here. He'll also fire trash blocks at you that split off into 4 pieces moving diagonally. Jump straight up so they explode around you and fire. Keep this going until he's dead, and you'll get the Dust Crusher, a straightforward attack of a trash block that splits up much in the same way Dustman uses it. You'll also get the Rush Jet, making this all the more reason to face him first in this foursome. Next up, Skull Man. Make sure you use a charged shot on the Skeleton Joes. A regular shot will just collapse him temporarily and he'll go back to chucking bones at you. Be careful on these narrow platforms by the spikes. Jump and retreat to trigger the bats to come after you so you can kill them safely from a distance, and then use the Rush Coil on the edge here to get this E-Tank. Be sure to shoot this prick that floats around here before making the jump, or he could knock you into the pit. and then use the coil to get up onto the platforms during this section. At the home stretch, you've got a series of Skeleton Joes. Slip down here to kill this one that's in your way, and Skull Man is soon after. He'll leap around the room and summon his skull barrier, also occasionally firing off plasma shots. His jumps vary in distance, but he'll always jump high, so be ready to slide under him. Just watch out, cause he'll sometimes run across the floor. Avoid him and fire the Dust Crusher when he's not protected until you take him out and get the skull barrier. This, of course, is a shield more than a weapon, but it can be used to wipe out some enemies up close and is protective against mostly projectiles, but not immune to all attacks. It's also useful against the next Robot Master, Dive Man. Kill this hard hat from behind the wall, and don't overthink this part. Just walk off, and then you've got this whale mini-boss. He'll send missiles at you, and then launch 4 small spiked balls that fall slowly. Leave your way between them. Stay close and use the Shadow Blade. It'll actually be able to take out the missiles if you're lined up right. Just walk across this narrow space of spikes as well, and watch the ceiling here. Don't jump too high. Jump high here, and press yourself against the wall to slip into the gap. When you reach this asshole, hit him with the Spark Shock to freeze him, and blast him with your arm cannon to take him out. When you get here, let the water raise before jumping to maximize your distance. These spiked balls will detonate once you get close to them. Even some of these where it looks like you have to take damage, don't worry. Just keep yourself a short distance away, and you'll be out of its radius. Just don't let any outside bullshit distract you. Carefully position yourself between the spikes on this jump, and Dive Man is right after. He'll torpedo himself across the room and send heat-seeking missiles out of his body. He's easy to jump over since you've got lots of height being underwater, but you've got to get close with your skull barrier. Thankfully, you're protected from the missiles with the shield too, so you only have to worry about getting too close to him. Once you take him out, you'll get the dive missile, which sends a small heat-seeking missile which will hunt down the nearest enemy. Last, of course, is Drill Man. Early on, you'll want to use the coil to get up here and grab this E-tank. And keep your eye on these narrow platforms with small spikes sticking out of the sides. They'll flash and rotate positions to poke out vertically, so make sure it's passable. Use the coil to get up here, and when you drop down here, remember that these detachable platforms let go quickly, and head over to the other side when the little spikes are clear. Then you've got 2 of these things sandwiching a pair of E-tanks. If you're maxed out at 4 by this point, use one of them to refill your health and replenish by slipping down and quickly heading back up. These chutes will drop boulders that break up and spit debris in your face. Get away from it and quickly pass before the next one comes down at you. Then you've got more of these countdown explosives. Hop on the second one and wait till the last possible second to jump straight up and clear the explosion. Blast these boulders as you cross the pit before them and freeze up this dickhead with the Spark Shock before reaching the gate to Drill Man. He'll burrow his way underground and pop up in a random spot, and then start firing drill bombs as he runs across the room and occasionally leaping high into the air. Slide around when he's underground. If you're in movement, he won't emerge where you're standing. Once he surfaces, keep your distance, spam attack dive missiles, and let the heat-seeking feature do the aiming for you. Keep this going until he's destroyed, and you've got the drill bomb, a straight-ahead drill that explodes upon impact. So now that all the Robot Masters are defeated, it's back to the Wily castle. You'll enter a gate right away and get a cutscene where you confront Wily. He runs off, and Punk busts out of the floor and then goes back down. Mega Man is conflicted on who to go after, and decides that he has to go take down Punk first. I don't know, I guess because he's more of a threat to the world or something. So Punk will turn into a buzzsaw similar to Mecha Sonic from Sonic 2 and dash across the room. He'll either be lined up with the floor or in the air just a bit. Keep your distance so you have a little time to react and either jump over him or slide under depending on which path he chooses. In between these attacks, he'll leap in the air a few times and fire his weapon. Stay back dodge his attacks, and fire charged up Mega Buster shots at him. Charge your shot up when he darts across the room. Keep this up until he's dead, and even though he's not a traditional robot master, you'll still get his weapon, the Screw Crusher. It's the same blade projectile that Punk tossed at you, but it moves in a steep arc. And now the third and final Wily stage, which takes place in the upper regions of the castle. Early on, after you take out this cannon, remember that these dropping platforms let go quick, so jump quickly, and then you've got to take the rush jet across this hall of spikes. Make sure you line up correctly because you can't change Rush's height, and fire rapidly at these parachute guys because you can't slow down. Then slide carefully under these spikes. You have to make sure that you don't pop back up under the spikes. Use the dive missile to clear this fucker out to light the room back up so you can actually see the spikes. This clamp won't ever get lower than the Hammer Joe, so stay below his line of fire when the clamp is on the way down. Charge up your shot and fire at him when the clamp moves up. Then after 2 more clamps, have a charged shot ready for this Skeleton Joe so you don't get hit with a bone on your way up. Then you'll come across a segment with a ceiling that lowers and raises, with spikes on the floor that sink back into the ground. Take out the hard hats in front of each area first, size up where the spikes are, and pass through when they're lowered. Use the rush coil to get this E-tank, and when you get to this jackhammer prick, use the ladder to let him turn around if you haven't taken him out on the first go around, and a gate is just ahead. You got a rematch with Giant Susie. Use the Spark Shock again, and the fight isn't any different from the last one. After defeating it, you're not there yet. You've got a few areas with some hard hats, Hammer Joes, and these ball launching machines. Use the drill bomb to take out this buzzsaw and grab any power-ups you come across. Use Rush Coil to get past these spikes, and Spark Shock to freeze up this guy before unloading on him with the Mega Buster, and the gate to Dr. Wily is just ahead. This machine will fire small missiles out the top that target your general direction. It'll attack back and forth to the opposite side each time, trying to crush you. So charge up your Mega Buster, slide underneath him so it'll come down the other side, and fire at his eyes. You should also have no problem evading the missiles while doing this. After taking it out, the inevitable happens, and Wily takes on another form. The machine will stay grounded as it fires 2 balls at a time out of its shoulders. Wily's cab is out of reach or unaffected by your weapons unless you use the Screw Crusher, which launches up at a nice arc, letting you reach it, but you have to get close and jump before launching it. Right after firing, retreat so you can avoid the balls. And keep in mind that these balls can also ricochet your Crusher shots elsewhere, so time it so that you attack before he attacks you. Thankfully, the Screw Crusher doesn't use up much weapon energy, so you can afford some misses. But keep in mind that if you die, you'll still have whatever remaining weapon energy you had. So if you're running low and you don't think you have enough to win, don't use any E-tanks. You might end up better off just getting a game over and starting the stage again, so you can maintain your tanks. After finishing him off, Wily begs for mercy, per usual, and then quickly hops into an escape pod, per usual. Mega Man hauls ass, the castle explodes, per usual, and Mega Man goes for a contemplative walk as a slideshow of all the characters plays in the background. Mega Man arrives at the top of a hill and admires the view of the city, reflecting on his victory. There would be another sequel. Mega Man 4 would be released in 1993, but we'll save that one for another time. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.